your silly wine questions answered by me. So one of our regulars, Mike, has asked, why can't I have red wine with fish? Firstly, believe in yourself a bit, Mike. You can do anything you set your mind to. But seriously, there's logic here. So we're taught pretty early doors in the world of wine, red wine with red meat, white wine with fish. What I've got here, 3 red wines. I've got a Barolo, I've got a Cab Sauv, and I've got a Shiraz. And one of the things that these wines all have in common is they have high levels of tannin. And tannin is not a bad thing. It's a lovely thing. In fact, tannin reacts really nicely with red meat protein. It helps break it down. And that's why when you have a lovely Cab Sauv with a lovely bit of steak, it appears to almost melt in your mouth a little bit. However, it does a different thing when we have it with certain types of fish. In particular, I'm thinking white, oily fish like cod. When you have a high tannin wine with a white, oily fish, it creates this weird metallic taste. It's kind of the same principle. You know when you brush your teeth and then you drink orange juice after, it tastes absolutely disgusting. Just those two things don't really speak to each other. There's a similar thing happens with high tannin reds and oily white fish. But as I said, there is exceptions to this. And so if you were to then go for a low tannin red, like a Pinot Noir, Beaujolais, I've got a really lovely Grenache here from the south of France. These wines are lovely with pretty much all types of fish, including the white oily fish. It's also worth thinking about other types of fish like salmon or tuna, which are kind of described a bit as meatier. In my opinion, they tend to actually pair better with red wines like these than they do white wines. Final thing to consider when thinking about red wine and fish is how are you going to cook that? So again, if we were to look at salmon, if you were to steam a nice fillet of salmon, that probably, in my mind, would pair nicely with a crisp white wine. Whereas if you were to like roast salmon or cook it on the barbecue and you were going to get char and smoke and intensity of flavor and then serve it with something that's rich, like a big tomatoey sauce, that would push it more into something that I would pair with a red wine. My final bit of advice, if you are having red wine with fish, stick your red wine in the fridge for 10 minutes or so before you enjoy it, and it will just become a bit lighter, a bit fresher, a bit more quaffable. No such thing as a silly question, guys, so if you have a silly wine question, send it over to me and I can do a video on it too.